Hello friends, it's good to be with you even if it is virtually and valuing the connection that we have as Union Church. If you're interested in connecting this morning at 11:30, we will have a Zoom virtual fellowship time, so please join us in that. The instructions are in this e-blast, and we also have a prayer team that is very diligent and prayerful. So there are instructions about contacting folks if you're interested in offering a prayer of thanksgiving or a prayer request. Today we're going to be talking about legacy and what we leave behind based on John 14, which you have in the e-blast. Let us turn our hearts and minds to God's presence. Well, this is Mother's Day, so we take time to be grateful for mothers. I'm certainly grateful for mine. Most of us yet have ambivalent memories of our less than perfect parents. Positive things we try to incorporate into our lives, and negative examples that we try to learn from in order to avoid them. If we're a parent ourselves, we reflect upon our own contributions to our children's well-being. Mothers, be warned. Nancy Friday in My Mother, Myself claims that daughters will likely end up mirroring their mothers. As parents and grandparents, and as older generation of the church today, what legacy of faith and wisdom do we want to pass on to those who follow our footsteps? This poem, The Bridge Builder by Will Allen Dromgoole, may point us in a good direction. An old man was going along a highway. He came at evening, cold and gray, to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which he was flowing a rapid tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The rapid stream caused no fear in him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. "Old man," said a fellow traveler, "you are wasting strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending of day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why do you build this bridge as night subsides?" The builder lifted his old gray head. "Good friend, across the gorge I have come," he said, "yet follows after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This ravine that has been not to me, to that untested youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for him." Jesus knew what he wanted to give to those he left behind after he died. Jesus did not stress out about his own welfare and did not worry about where he would sleep. Jesus had no need to impress people with his wealth or political power. His eulogy is the New Testament. His legacy is the Christian church and his enduring influence on Christians throughout the world. The most essential thing that Jesus taught us is, in life and in death, and in life beyond death, God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God. It is disconcerting to ask in the middle of a life-threatening pandemic Yet it is important to ask, what will your eulogy say? What will you hand down to those who remain after you? What are you planting that will grow for generations to come? How does your life inspire others? Our attitude about life and death is most likely the most important thing we can pass on. What message about life and death are you giving to others? Let's turn to Richard Rohr for wisdom from his article, Death Transformed. Father Richard Rohr explains, I believe the Christian faith is saying that hope is death transformed, not death avoided. Spiritual wisdom recognizes both death and resurrection, or loss and renewal in broader terms. We tend to avoid and acknowledging that balance. We want renewed life without the cost of surrender. Ordinarily, we contemplate loss only when reality demands it of us, as the worldwide epidemic is doing now. Pandemic pushes the balance of life and death into our lives. We can choose denial, but it is hard to ignore loved ones' suffering and worldwide tragedy. Everyone needs a balance of life and hope. Jesus submitted to personal daily loss, and ultimately, he forfeited his life. And the result came out more than okay. As the letter to the Hebrews teaches, Jesus is our guide, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. Each time we face the fact of dying, we can find an opportunity to uncover a deeper trust found in faith in God's eternal love. If we look at death with candor and respect, this courageous exploration removes our mind blocks, at least for a while. Like being connected to a generator, we experience more energy to trust the power source the next time we must face the reality of loss or death. Acknowledging death is invariably a leap of faith. Facing death is like walking through darkness, accepting the inevitability of loss presses us to discover and appreciate hope. We really don't know and appreciate life until we acknowledge death. Christians can gain deeper faith in God's eternal love. We can discover that divine life is so big, so deep, and so indestructible that it is even able to include death. Franciscan sister and scientist Ilia Delio wrote this insight in an article entitled Hope in a Time of Crisis. Christianity can help us realize that death and resurrection are part of a path toward wholeness. Christian faith can help us let go of isolated existence for the sake of a deeper union. Something dies, but something is born again, which is why the chaos of our time is, in a strange way, a sign of hope. Something new is being born within. Out of chaos, a star is born. Breakdown can be breakthrough if we recognize new life struggling to emerge. Well, the path to human wholeness is a lifelong challenge. Thank heavens, literally, resurrection faith assures us no matter how we frame the exact nature of resurrection, resurrection faith reminds us to look for signs of new life and new ways of being today and for the future. Unthinking apathy causes stagnation. A cup of fresh water held captive in our hands soon escapes our hands and disappears. Likewise, indifference will soon become an empty life. Denial of death and loss leads to nowhere. Avoidance of facing losses and death deprives us of an opportunity to move deeply and embrace the preciousness of life. Avoiding losses and death denies a fundamental trust in God, in life and death, and in life beyond death. God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God. Amen.